Gotta talk fast. Gotta talk fast. Gotta talk faster, faster, faster. Gotta talk fast.
Welcome to an oral review of Archie Comics Sonic the Hedgehog, reminding you to familiarize. Oh my god.
Familiarize. It's
familiarize.
four syllables.
I understand.
Familiarize.
I understand. Okay, wait. Let's walk. Familiarize. Nope, I can't say. Do it again. Slow.
You're adding something.
Yeah.
You're adding something.
I like to add
your
flair.
brain is checking out.
I like to add flair to the words. I'm sorry.
Repeat. Repeat after me. Fa. Mill.
Your
eyes.
Familiarize. Nope.
Yeah.
It was close.
No, you had it.
So growing up, I had a speech impediment. And so those laughing, you're laughing at someone who had a speech impediment. But then I never learned, so what the fuck am I doing? But my friends used to make fun of me and like sit down and teach me how to say words for like hours at a time. So for the longest, I always remember apocalypse because I used to say apocalypse. It was just all P's. So and yeah, everyone thought that was funny, just like how everyone thought that familiarize was funny. Welcome to an oral review of Archie Comics Sonic the Hedgehog, reminding you to familiarize yourself with what a real gun sounds like going off near you and far away from you. You can do this virtually by looking up gun range videos on YouTube. For Americans, going to a gun range unfortunately has a range of political implications. Check the owners of the range before going and weigh the cost of not going versus swallowing your pride. Always use proper ear protection for firearms. You'll only look stupid when you're constantly asking people to repeat themselves because of your hearing, because of your damaged hearing. Being familiar with what a gun sounds like may help in identifying a dangerous situation sooner. I'm Nick, and except for this intro, I wrote the script.
And I'm Dominic, and except for this intro, I haven't read any of today's script. And yeah, just remind yourself that to look that up because popular media is important and it does have an effect on people, and guns don't sound the way you think they do. They really don't. They're either deafeningly loud to a degree that you just don't understand, or they're actually a little like in the distance. It's like a wind and a snap. Like it's a and then a snap. And there's a lot of like cackling that you don't realize. If you hear the cackling, that means the shots are being fired somewhat in your general direction.
Or someone's laughing.
So you can, again, look up those. Either that, yes. Either way, sink into the ground and take cover.
Mm-hmm.
Those are, whether I'm being shot at, which I've never happened to me, thankfully, but whether I'm being shot at or if someone is making fun of me, I immediately duck and cover and hang on for dear life.
Yeah, that's normally my my strategy too. I just kind of curl up into a ball.
Yeah.
And then I kind of rock back and forth. I find it very soothing. I had speaking of crying, I had like a little bit of a mental breakdown this morning. Not like a real mental breakdown where I was crying. I shouldn't be so flip with that terminology, I suppose. But I was writing today's script, slightly hungover from a wedding, and I've never used ChatGPT. And I was just like, I just want to see what happens if I type in, like, write a summary / script based on the Sonic Archie comic, right? And I did it, and it does give you a pretty decent synopsis of, like, what happened, right? And it broke me because it cites its sources. And all of its sources is coming from a blog called hedgehogscan'tswim.blogspot. And a good name for a blog.
Looking that up.
And it's literally just this dude essentially doing what we do on the podcast, but writing it all out. And he does like a summary of like every single episode. And so when I typed in the chat GPT of like, hey, do a summary of this episode, it just lifted all of this dude's information. I guess I shouldn't say dude. I didn't look the gender or anything.
Right. But
dude,
the author, yeah.
And dude is non-gendered. And so I looked at this dude's stuff, and like we got a summary.
It's plagiarism. They're
Yeah,
plagiarizing.
oh, yeah, of course. And like it just pissed me off so fucking much because I'm like, this dude did so much work. I think he does the whole series. And I don't know if the dude sucks or not. I'm not vouching for him. I assume he doesn't suck because if you're into Sonic
we
the
unfortunately
Hedgehog,
have to kind of say that with Sonic. We have to say that with Sonic fans, where it's like they could suck. We don't know.
I don't know if
not
this
an
dude is a
endorsement.
Nazi. I did not get that far, but I assume,
Or they're the coolest person on earth. We genuinely have no idea.
Yeah.
But ChatGPT is effectively
just stealing all of this dude's work.
We knew this. But yeah,
and it just
like to the umpth degree.
And and the other thing that really pissed me off is like obviously it takes out all of the dudes like writing style and whatnot, so it's very like to the point and quick, which I suppose if you're doing it from like an academic standpoint of like, hey, I want to like quickly just get this information, it could be nice, I guess. But the thing that really made me angry is at the end it gives you like an overall impression, right? And it tells you ChatGPT just tells you the impression, and I'm like, that just kind of annoys the shit out of me because it's just telling you what to think without like letting you come to these things naturally. So that was it just made me really sad this morning. Interesting tool. Maybe I'll use it in the future for something else.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever did an introductory script for this, but no, ChatGPT or just AI in general, what it's doing is like it is robbing people, particularly youths, people who are brains are still developing. It's robbing them of the exercise of thinking.
Of critical
the exercise
thinking.
of thinking.
Yeah.
Yes. Not even
just even thinking.
Basic thinking. I'm not joking. I'm not even making a joke. Literally, they are being robbed of it. I always think back to my English teacher. My English teacher in high school showed me the value of math because he was like, hey, I'm just like you guys. He was telling the classes, like, hey, everyone, I'm just like you. I don't care about these formulas. And honestly, 80% of it you will never use for the rest of your life once you leave school.
Yeah.
But the act of doing that stuff, it's not about the formulas. It's not about the exact word problems, etc. It's about exercising that part of your brain and thinking in a different way because you don't do anything like those formulas probably ever again for the rest of your life, but you want to get it going and exercise that part of your brain. And it helps in ways that honestly we probably don't even fully understand yet, or maybe neurologists do, but there is that value to it. And he's just like, you know what? After that, I never truly, or at least not that hard, complained about math class ever again. Because it was like, yeah, that's actually important. The same way it's like, yeah, in no scenario are you actually probably ever going to need to do the exact exercise of like a push-up, right? At what point do you actually need to go on the ground and push the ground? But
one day
no
we
one
will
questions
have
the value
to
of a push-up.
move the rotation of Earth just slightly off, and probably to avoid a asteroid coming. So
yes.
that's why we train for that moment. Instead of lifting up the cities, we push the planet. That's our strategy.
Yeah. That's a good strategy.
I think
a good
so.
strat.
My other really quick rant is fucking. So I try to buy these things in advance because we're gonna get to them one day. I bought Sonic Prime season 1 and 2, right?
Oh shit.
But season 3 came out, and they never came out with like individual discs. So I had to go and buy this fucking steelbook because it's the complete collection of seasons 1, 2, and 3. Because they're not releasing a season 3 individually. So people who are like me, who are dumb and just assumed they'd make a third season, are stuck with an incomplete series. So
I'm surprised you didn't just wait until all of the seasons were out.
Seasons 1 and 2 they were like $5 each.
Okay.
It was probably that cheap because they knew that they were never going to complete them. So And plus it's Netflix, so the moment it came out on Blu-ray, I'm like a little nervous that they'll never do another run.
Fair enough. That's actually that's real.
Yeah. All right. You know what else runs? Sonic the Hedgehog in issue number 34.
Archie Comics, Sonic the Hedgehog number 34, cover date May of 1996. To Bot or Not to Bot, script by Angelo De Cesare and art by Brian Thomas. Have we ever seen a Brian Thomas before?
This is the first time I've seen Brian Thomas. So I have thoughts.
Yes, I do as well. There's a chance maybe I think they're brand new. But there's a chance, always leaving the store open, that they worked on things beforehand in like a lesser capacity. But this name really stuck out to me as a new name.
I just want you to know that I spent too long trying to think of a way to incorporate the soliloquy of Hamlet, but like turning it to bots. And after like 20 minutes of looking at it, I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna write the script. This is too much of my time. I can't do this right now.
That's a me move. I would do the same thing. And that's also how you know this script is not truly done in ChatGPT or any kind of AI.
Oh, I could have just... Wait.
No.
Okay.
AI is poison, and every time you use it, it's technically hurting things more.
I agree. Unless...
To Bot or Not to Bot? We open on Uncle Chuck and Mutsky getting zapped by some energy beams. The two of them are in excruciating pain. The beam disappears. We zoom out and see that we are inside Rotor's lab, with Rotor manning the controls and Sonic watching. The beam was a de-roboticization energy beam, or at least an attempt at one. Rotor proclaims that, unfortunately, only Robotnik can turn Uncle Chuck and Mutsky back into their biological counterparts. This does beg the question, why change back? Uncle Chuck probably only had a few more good years in him, if that, and dogs only live 8 to 12 years? Frankly, I only see positives. No longer needing to sleep is a huge plus. And think about how high Uncle Chuck could jump with those robotic legs. Either way, Rotor wants to keep running tests to see if he can turn them back. Unfortunately for Uncle Chuck and the Freedom Fighters, time is running out. We cut to the center of Robotropolis, where Robotnik is showing Snively his newest top-secret project. An army. From now on, Snively, you can call me General Robotnik, Supreme Commander of the greatest fighting force in history. Very impressive, sir. General. But why? Because I've declared total war on Sonic and the Freedom Fighters. For that reason, I've created the ultimate combat machine. The Combot. Imagine an entire army of invincible soldier bots, all with a single purpose, to get that miserable hedge rat and his friends. Tomorrow I will launch an all-out attack on the Great Forest. When the Freedom Fighters come to the rescue, an army of combots will overwhelm them by sheer force of numbers. But it must be a surprise attack, Snively. That's why you must not breathe a word to anyone or anything. That's an order. Unfortunately for Robotnik, Dulcie the Dragon was right outside his window. She was spying on Robotnik and overheard everything. She flies off to tell the Freedom Fighters what she's heard. She debriefs the Freedom Fighters. Sally states that they need to destroy all the combots now, while they are all together in one place. Uncle Chuck speaks up and says that's a job for him, since he knows Robotnik's headquarters better than anyone else. He also volunteers Mutsky, which is kind of messed up. How much free will does that dog have, and does he fully understand the mission he's about to head off on? That's messed up, Chuck. That's fucked up, Chuck. End of part 1.
I went back and forth trying to decide if I want to say that's fucked up or not, and I decided to keep it clean. So way to ruin the integrity of my script, Dominic. Saying
I can edit.
Bots. I'm onto you.
You don't come on butts?
On bots? No. Not yet. They don't exist yet. The sex bots? They will though. And I will.
Elon Musk is working really hard on
That's
it.
why he's doing it, right? Let's start with first, what do we think of the first part, which is, I mean, it's fine. What do you think of Robotnik's plan of building?
Have you ever been impressed? Have you ever been impressed by a part one?
Yeah, when Robotnik built the chainsaw time machine.
Okay, so you want cool things to happen in your part one. This
I'm
isn't
sorry,
cool.
I want cool things to happen. Yeah, of course I want cool things to happen, Dominic. What kind of critique did you just do?
No.
So let me get this straight. You want your parts to be good.
No, I didn't mean. You're right. You're right. I understand what you're saying.
I'm being a dick.
No, I know. But like, I didn't mean cool in the general sense of good. I meant cool as in cool in that sense. So, the combots. What do you think of the combots?
So let's
like their design.
Let's one. I hate the design. They're hard to look at. I think this is just like more of an artistic, right? Where it's just like, if I saw that design in real life, I'd probably be like, that's fine. But in terms of like looking at it inside the comic, I find it really annoying.
I think it's the colors more than anything.
Yeah, and the problem is they're camouflaged, but they're all standing at attention in a row, so they're camouflaging into each other. So, and maybe, I don't know. Robotnik is wearing like a General Patton kind of.
No, he's not wearing. I know what you're saying, but if you look closely in the third panel of that general page, it's actually a Piccolo. It's an Imperial German Piccolo.
That was my next thought, actually. So I'm glad you said that. He is wearing sunglasses, Robotnik, and I think Robotnik should be wearing sunglasses all the time. Of course, I'm a firm believer that every character should be wearing sunglasses all the time. So
you want the rewrite where it's just everyone's wearing glasses?
Yeah, 1,000%.
No, I understand why you said Patton, because the speech bubble was cutting it off. And sunglasses don't well, okay, unless you're like a biker, but that's post-war. Anyway, the point is, honestly, I think Robotnik's like general uniform actually does go. I think it actually looks good, but it mismatches with the army of robots behind him. So I'm in agreement with you there.
I actually kind of adore how Robotnik looks in this uniform. I think he looks fantastic.
That's the thing, is that like we hate authoritarianism on this podcast, but goddamn, the aesthetics kind of go sometimes.
Well, okay, if this specific aesthetic works for Robotnik, if I saw someone trying to bust that out in real life, I would make fun of them for being a dork.
80 years ago you could have done that.
The reason why I'm just like, this is fine, is it's such a simple plan. I'm gonna attack Sonic with an army, and the frustrating thing is just like, or maybe this is not a frustrating thing, because there's like an implication here, right, where he's fed up. He is like done with fucking Sonic, and like his speech is just like, I've declared total war. And so this is him being like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna go kill him. I'm tired. I'm done. He keeps fucking with my shit. I'm gonna just march over there. I'm gonna burn down the knot hole. I'm gonna burn down the Great Forest, and I'm done. And I like that implication, because it means that like up until right now, Sonic has just kind of been like, we interpret things as Sonic is on Robotnik's mind all the time, because we're kind of always seeing things from like Sonic's perspective, right? But there's an implication here where like Robotnik actually has like a lot going on, and Sonic just kind of pops in and out and annoys him, and he's never like taking the time to be like really try to kill him, right? Like
Mhm.
I kind of like to view it as like he's got a lot of fun, wacky ideas, and he's like, I'm gonna try it. You know what? Let's build a like a battering ram that walks. Let's see if that'll get him. You know, let's build a time machine out of a chainsaw. Let's just mash two objects together and see what happens. And this is him done. This is him not having fun anymore. This is him like, I'm building an army. Let's go do it. So I like it from that aspect of the story.
Yeah,
I
it really did. It stuck out to me too, because it's like, what were you doing before? I know you just said all of that, but like, I don't know, dude. Like, you kind of took over a whole continent, at least, right? A whole country, took out a kingdom, and then drove an entire population underground for the most part, right? And put them into hiding, and in this genocidal conflict. What was it before, if not totaler Krieg, right?
Yeah.
Gesetzter Krieg.
Yeah.
And like
it's good.
I think the total war was like before issue 1. Yeah.
I didn't call it out in the script. It's a really dumb fucking detail that is actually, I think, just funny, which is so one of Robotnik's like head chambers is just kind of like a giant glass dome that's like on the top of it, like an egg-shaped building. And maybe this was there before and I just never noticed, but there's a bunch of gargoyles around it now. and I think they specifically did that so that Dulcie wouldn't stand out standing next to the dome, so that she can overhear whatever conversation is happening. So I just think
because it kind of doesn't make sense for him to have. It doesn't make sense for him to have gargoyle in the close up. They are like they are stylized gargoyles, but still, I feel like he wouldn't do that.
I agree.
I still feel like he wouldn't do that either. I still feel, and this is, Dulcie never shows up again in this issue specifically. I still don't feel, she still feels out of place. And it's not just because I didn't know of her as a character before this series. You and I started reading this together. It's more so like, it's like dragons are mythical and they don't quite fit into this woodland creature setup.
I know that the Saturday morning show definitely had magic. So dragons wasn't like okay. Yeah, and she's from the show, so it makes sense. I agree. I 1,000% agree. I don't think she should be in this comic. So or at least,
or she just feels out of place.
Exactly.
Maybe like a bat, like a girl bat with big tits. No. So in terms of
but then you get the breast reduction. You don't want too big of tits.
Yes, honestly. Yeah, no, really. For the record, I have nothing. So going back to that rant from like 10, 12 episodes ago or whatever.
That was like half a year ago.
I have nothing against. Yeah, really. I have nothing against like well-endowed people. I really don't. It's more so just the fact that
I'm gonna say no one thought that you did until right now, when you had to specifically be like, look, big boobs on women, it's fine. No one thought you were being like, I hate women with big boobs. I just feel like I needed to.
Some people might think that.
Okay, well, now I do. I think you hate women with big boobs. Just like big, yeah.
You know who hates big boobs? The women who have them.
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
I know. I know some women who've had breast reductions because they had some pretty big knockers.
Jesus Christ! I thought we were gonna say back issues.
She did. It was legitimately. It made her life suck a lot.
Yeah, but anyway, no. Just more so the symbolism of what she is to the. Although I will applaud modern Sonic community that it is somewhat toned down. That I'll even say significantly than it was in the early to mid 2000s. Comparatively, she is actually like a person now. Rouge the Bat.
Yeah, well, I know she's a bat, not a person.
Do we want to wait until the end of the issue to talk about
The art, yeah.
Brian and the art?
Yeah, I was specifically holding off till the end because I might make references to certain panels where I'm like, we should just do the whole thing.
All right, let's move on. Yeah. To Bot or Not to Bot, Part 2. As gloomy night falls on Robotropolis, Sonic, Uncle Chuck, and Mutsky are outside Robotnik's headquarters. Uncle Chuck is opening all the doors since Robotnik hasn't changed the access codes since Uncle Chuck was last on site. The three of them rush in and find the army of combots not activated and standing at attention. Sonic leaves to plant all the bombs, and while he's gone, Robotnik spots Uncle Chuck and Mutsky on his security system. He remotely zaps Mutsky and Uncle Chuck, and they turn back into their brainless robotic selves. Sonic returns and is captured by Uncle Chuck. Robotnik and Snively, presumably... Oh, sorry, okay. Oh, you don't use the Oxford comma.
No, I've never understood how to use it.
Oh, really?
Wait, which one's the Oxford comma?
Are you serious? So the Oxford comma is, so let's say you have 3 items. Uncle Chuck, Robotnik, and Snively. You put a comma between Uncle Chuck and Robotnik, but Oxford comma dictates that you should also use one between Robotnik and. So Uncle Chuck, comma, Robotnik, comma, and Snively.
Oh, see, I know I never do the one by and.
Yes, that's a lot of people. I use the Oxford comma because, and look, I'm not criticizing you. I just noticed it because that was. Yeah, I'm not really. It's not like your fault. It's more so because like that's how you were raised. That's fine, but it's more so it was affecting my. It sounds like it was
the school's fault.
Honestly, kinda. I think it is doctrines. It is a doctrinal thing. I personally do not like it because, or rather, I prefer having the Oxford comma because it is better to, in my opinion, it's generally better to have more information than to not. And there's the classic joke of, oh, this is why you need the Oxford comma. Strippers, JFK, and Stalin. If you only have strippers, comma, JFK, and Stalin, then it just sounds like JFK and Stalin are strippers.
Well, I mean, I don't know their whole life. So maybe there was a time period.
Yeah, Stalin was a murderous dictatorial piece of shit, but he did look damn good when he was younger. JFK, he was a pillow princess. In the sense that when he was fucking, because of his back problems endured from his service in World War II, because his boat got blown up, he never really, he was drugged up during his entire presidency.
Rad.
Like, that is, yeah, like, honestly, kinda, and like, but it was because he was in constant pain. Like, constant pain. He was in more pain than FDR, because at least FDR didn't feel anything, with his condition. Mm-hmm. Whereas with JFK, it was just constant pain. And so when he's fucking Marilyn, or when he was fucking anyone,
when he was fucking his gay best friend.
Yeah, honestly, he just kind of laid there.
Yeah.
He just kind of sat there. He was a pillow princess. Okay, here we go. Sonic returns and is captured by Uncle Chuck, Robotnik, and Snively, presumably to taunt Sonic. Nice uniform, Robotnik. Did they kick you out of the marching band for swallowing the drum? Speaking of marching bands, tomorrow we're going to have a parade, and you're going to lead it. Dawn, the following day, at the edge of the great forest. Buns, Tails, and Antoine are running up to Sally. They report that no explosion ever happened last night. While Sally deduces that they must have been captured, she sees something off in the distance. She pulls out her binoculars and spots Robotnik and Snively driving a tank with Sonic the Hedgehog tied to the front of the tank. Actually, welded to the front of the tank.
That is true.
Actually. That's actually honestly kind of funny.
He's being Mad Maxed.
Yeah, that thank you. I was trying to pinpoint where that was from. Was that in the earlier ones, or was that Fury Road?
That was Fury Road.
Okay. Sally spots Uncle Chuck and Mutsky marching alongside the tank. Seeing the size of Robotnik's army, Sally immediately gives up. We have no choice but to gather up all the free Mobians and take them to our underground shelters and say goodbye to our home in Knothole Village. We cut to Sally and Buns, guiding the villagers to the underground shelters when she sees Robotnik standing in front of the entrance to the underground shelter. Perhaps they should not have shared the location with Uncle Chuck. End of part 2.
I mean, we already commented on it, but it's pretty rad that Sonic is straight up like strapped to the front of a tank as Robotnik and Snively drive him towards Knothole Village, forcing him to watch. Like, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is very good. It always made me wonder. It's like, yeah, human shields. Why don't we do that as much? What do we?
Yeah, what are we doing?
Like, it's 2020. Yeah, it's 2025. We have no morals anymore. We just gave up. We just gave up on it. Like, mask off. Just start just start strapping people to people. It's great.
I mean, yeah, why not, man?
The more people you strap to each other, the thicker the armor. Okay.
Yeah, that's just science.
So it's implied that that Knothole is the above ground village, but they still maintained that underground presence. So it's not a retcon now, because before we were complaining about a retcon. Now it sounds like that at some point along the line, which happened not during the comic that we know of, not during stories, but it seems like it's implied that Knothole was underground, and then they slowly but surely moved everything Knothole back to the surface, but was still within the Great Forest. And then they still maintained the underground portion as like either shelter, like emergency shelters like we see now, or like a military apparatus. Like that is a military base now, which makes sense. So in that way, it negates the retcon and instead weaves it into the story. How do you feel about that?
I think that's good. That's a good. I mean, there's just an implication of like Knothole is growing, and they got too big for their underground base, and they needed to go above ground. Of course, I'm doing that implication, right? But I like it in the context of they started off smart. They're like, we need to obviously be underground. He has control of the whole continent. And then they got too big. And they're like, well, I guess it's going to be a little bit more dangerous. But, I mean, we can't just, like, kick people out, right? We can't do we can't Gurren Lagann this. We can't have only, like, 30 people in the village. And I don't know if you've seen Gurren Lagann. But they have like
a bit,
and you get too many people, you just gotta kill them or send them off to, on their own towards Robotnik.
Yeah, no, honestly, any chance I can get to rep this game, but Freedom Fighters, right? You start off in the underground sewers of New York during occupied New York City, and each major story section takes place during a whole season of the year. And every season that changes, every time the story progresses, you see more and more tents, underground tents in the sewer system. Like the resistance is growing, people are joining, and that's a very nice touch that I appreciate. So we don't see too much of it. It's honestly, there's really not much to go off, but just through text alone, just through that alone, that's what we want. We kind of want to see things shown in that way, but it is what it is, and that's all right. How do you feel about the? I'll mention this. This isn't even This isn't even a Brian Thomas thing. Just in general, how do you feel on page 6, or at least I'm on page 6 of the actual pages of the comic itself?
Yeah, it's page 6.
It's at the bottom panel where it's like zoomed out. It's showing all the bots in formation. At attention, and they're all like bright neon pink. How do you feel about that?
I mean, that happened because the colorist was like, I'm not fucking doing this. I'm not gonna sit down and do camo for every single
yeah.
They did it earlier And so I was like, they already did it once. They don't need to do it again. I don't. I get why this happened. I don't hate it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's an artistic choice. Both artistic and like logistical choice. So I just wanted to appreciate that real quick. I do want to mention here in the smack dab in the middle of the episode, but still, I do want to acknowledge that sometimes we don't give good art enough dues. We're just critiquing. And I do want to say last issue, there was some really good like splash pages, which was the Supersonic and Hyper Knuckles special. I do want to give a shout out that the artist did very well. There were some really cool splash pages, particularly in that part 4 of Knuckles and Sonic going at it. That was really fun and cool. So we don't give enough credit to the good art out there, and I just want to do that on our behalf.
I call out Spaz when I really like Spaz's stuff.
Yeah. Spaz. I don't think anyone was really thinking about that, but everyone else, credit where credit is due for the others. So yeah. Okay, here we go. To bot or not to bot, part 3. Robotnik is standing in front of the freedom fighters and the villagers of Knothole Village. You can stop some of us, Robotnik, but you can't stop all of us. Someone will find a way to bring you down. I'm not afraid, Princess. You see, my combots are programmed to seek out all non-robotic Mobians, and nothing can prevent them from following orders to destroy the Great Forest down to the last twig. You wouldn't dare, you fiendishly person, you. That was Antoine. Oh, wouldn't I? Combots! I, your Imperial leader, command you to remove all Mobians from the Great Forest, even if you have to destroy it. Robotnik starts laughing to himself. When they're done marching through your Great Forest, you'll have to change its name to the Late Forest. Ha ha ha! Robotnik then notices that all the combats are marching in the wrong direction and march off of a cliff. My beautiful combots! I mustn't panic. After all, Sonic is still my prisoner. Without him, the freedom fighters are finished. Snively, roboticize the Hedgehog immediately. That's in order. I can't do that, General. Idiot! What do you mean you can't do that? Why not? Robotnik turns around and sees Sonic controlling his tank and pointing the barrel of the gun right at Robotnik. Just then, Mutsky jumps up and starts attacking Sonic. Meanwhile, Uncle Chuck shows up in a hovercraft for Robotnik to escape. Uncle Chuck flies Robotnik and Snively to safety. But what's this? Everything has gone exactly to plan? What? How? Impossible? Perhaps Rotor can explain. The last time I tested Uncle Chuck and Mutsky, I inserted a neuro overrider into their neural networks. It allowed them to keep control of their minds even when Robotnik tried to realign them. Then Uncle Chuck and Mutsky were only pretending to be robots? That's right, Tails. Uncle Chuck reprogrammed the combots to act on his command, not Robotnik's. That's why they marched into the sea. We cut to later in the day, where Uncle Chuck has stopped by to say goodbye. He's choosing to stay undercover at Robotropolis, since Robotnik thinks he's under his control. He'll be a perfect spy. I don't know how to end this one. Sorry.
So, what do we think about this?
First of all, you're really at the end of your rope, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you for hanging on and doing this script, Nick. Really, I want people to know that we've talked about this off camera, but like, the hardest job objectively is probably the editing, but the hardest job for us is the script writing. Like, for both of us, for Nick and I, it's way harder to do the script than it is to do editing, because editing is kind of objective, more or less. Obviously, it is a fine art, don't get me wrong, but especially with podcast editing, it's more or less very straightforward, and you know exactly what you need to do and what you envision. Script writing, especially like what we do as critique and comedy, etc.,
Comedy
hard.
is a strong word,
Nick,
so thank you for putting that in there.
Yeah, no, honestly, thank you.
Of course, man. Thanks for the shout out. So I'm gonna open with, I think it's fucking bullshit how this goes. So there's a part of me where I'm like, if this is the solution you came up with during writing for creating these guys, then do something else. Like I don't know where they're, so I guess there's like an implication that these guys are stronger than swap bots, right? And
yeah,
but I mean,
they're like super battle droids rather than the regular battle droids from Star Wars.
And like they didn't really describe like how much more powerful they are or anything. So like we don't really know what these things were capable of. And then
they're meaner. They look meaner.
Yeah, but like they could,
and that's arguable actually. Yeah.
I think the swap bots actually look more intimidating because they have,
I do too.
Well, because these guys look like they were designed by a child. Like they look borderline like action figures, while the swap bots have like a scientific future vibe to them. These command bots, com bots, were very like, I feel like this is what I would have came up with when I was in 7th grade, like 6th, 5th, 4th, 1st grade, where I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna make them tall and camo, and they're gonna have spiked shoulders, and for some reason, like thick arms, like Mega Man blasters.
The spikes on, not like spiked shoulders. They literally have like spikes pointing out their shoulders.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, it's so try hard. It's actually really funny in a not in an intentional way.
Yeah, exactly. They were trying to design something that looked intimidating and ended up just designing something that looked kind of dorky, I think. But ignoring that, because I mean that is just like a style thing, right? Like there are probably some people out there looking at this being like, we are dumb because these guys are cool as shit.
Yeah.
And we don't want you listening to this podcast if that's your opinion.
No, it really feels like, because so the major plot development in the meta, or rather not in the meta, but in the macro, right? The overall plot is that Uncle Chuck is now a spy.
Yeah.
He's pulling a double where it's like, oh hey, I'm in Robotnik's good graces. So I'm going to be an informant from the inside while but don't worry guys, I'm still good. That's the major development. It sounds like they started from there and worked backwards.
Oh, they 1,000% did.
That's what it feels like. They were like, okay, we need this plot development. Big threat. What's the big threat? Worse robots. Okay, what do? They're green. And that's it. Like, that's genuinely what it comes off as. And it's like, oh, how do we solve the issue of these big robots? Uncle Chuck reprograms them.
Yeah, like, I hate when things are, I mean, this is too easy, right? It's, Rotor implanted a thing to make it so Robotnik can't take over again. It's like, okay, sure. And then Uncle Chuck was able to just program the robots to walk off a cliff, and it's like, okay. So what was the point of anything?
Yeah.
I mean, the point was to get Uncle Chuck to be a spy, but like, outside of that, I was just like, this felt like a waste of time.
How you get there matters.
Yeah.
How you get there makes a good story.
Exactly.
Makes it compelling, really. And I understand that, yes, the twist was kind of hinted. Actually, no, it wasn't hinted at all. They had an excuse. They had an excuse in the sense that, they did all this zapping in the beginning as testing, but we didn't know that neuro overrider thing existed. That's just something. Like, it is. I believe that Rotor is capable of making that. It's not 100% bullshit, but it's still bullshit because, okay, if you don't hint at that at all, if you don't show that maybe they don't show that they were anticipating this, well then now anything's possible. Anything's possible. Any twist is possible, and that's really obnoxious. I know the discourse around twists is very long storied and very, very much in the fine details. But this ain't it. This ain't it, because it's two twists stacked on top of each other, in the sense that, oh, Uncle Chuck is actually good. He didn't get changed. And then also, oh, he overrode all the combots and made them walk into the ocean. It just feels cheap in that way, and it goes against the concept of, like, I don't know, what the Hitchcockian sense of suspense, where it's like, okay, you could show just an explosion in a stadium of people, or you could show the bomb and then the bomb getting to the stadium of people, and then you're wondering the whole time, is it going to go off? And that's more compelling, right?
Yeah. Well, and like, so this feels insane because Uncle Chuck technically showed Robotnik where the like hidden underground entrance is to their like shelter, right? And then on top of it, we are operating under the idea that Robotnik doesn't know where Knothole Village is, even though they've shown him literally viewing it on like security cameras in the past. So
yeah.
But ignoring that, he technically doesn't know where it's at. And I mean, if it's an escape shelter, you have to assume it's pretty close to the village. So you kind of just gave him like a 2-mile radius to check out to find the village, right?
Yeah, it's actually not good at all. You could try to argue that it's like, oh, well, Robotnik, or rather, like, you need to burn something in order to gain Robotnik's trust. Like, you're trading a little bit of safety of Knothole Village and the underground whatever or in order to get Uncle Chuck, in order to get him infiltrated properly. It still doesn't come off that way. You could argue, I'm pulling defense for the sake of defense, but you could argue, oh, that is one of the many secret entrances into Knothole, into the actual core of the underground section. You could try and argue that, because remember during when Sonic had amnesia and he was speeding through the underground tunnels and Sally was going to kill him. You could argue that's one of like 50 entrances to underground, and they burned one, and they can always make more. That's my excuse. I don't like it too much, but that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
before we start talking about the art, what's your like overall thoughts? We're just not good, right?
Yeah, so it's subpar in that way. The coolest thing is honestly Robotnik's outfit.
Yeah, I was very enamored with that outfit. So let's talk art. It feels like
no pencils by Ott.
It feels like they're like, can you draw Sonic and Robotnik? And he was like, yeah, of course. And he like submitted that because I think Sonic looks fine, and I actually kind of like a lot of how Sonic looks in this. And Robotnik looks fantastic, though I guess he is wearing like not his usual outfit, so maybe his like, if he wasn't wearing that, I don't know if it would look as good.
Sure.
But everyone else looks insane. Like calling out, we'll go to page 5, how Sally looks kind of talking at the panel. She looks insane.
Yeah, that center left.
Yeah. Or
it feels weird, man. Yeah.
This guy, his eyes, it's like the proportions of the face are wrong, and everything just comes out weird. Like page 10, when Sally, like, he's trying to go for somber, but Sally says, and say goodbye to our home in Knothole Village. But like, she just looks dead.
She looks annoyed. That's it.
Yeah. And specifically, the best one by far, like, top tier art. One second, I gotta find it. Like, I actually laughed out loud when I saw it. It's on page 11.
Is it page 11?
Antoine.
Yeah.
It looks so funny in this. He could not nail down Antoine at all. Like, every single panel looks funny, but specifically page 11 is literally comedy gold. It's so good.
Like, I already, so usually the intro, if you're watching this on YouTube, go watch this on YouTube. I do the intro gag, which is picking like 4 random panels out of context. It doesn't mean that it's not a commentary on like, oh, this is bad. It's more so just funny out of context, right? I'm stretching it. But in this case, it was more so, yeah, it didn't look too good. And that was one of them. I knew that was going to be one of them. We were going to talk about it. No way we weren't gonna. And it just looks so weird. Go into the next page 12. Look at Snively, dead center.
Yep. Well, honestly, Snively, the best Snively is actually page 15 when he's on the plane.
Yeah. Sorry. So I feel bad. We should be describing this for our audio listeners. Yeah, it's just everything looks thin. Everything looks just like the proportions are, well, actually in that case, his whole neck is just wrong. Like his whole neck is just twisted completely. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and so, okay. The problem with this art style, like I like he tried making everybody animal sized, which I actually appreciate. I think they should be like animal sized. But this guy cannot nail down faces, which is interesting because it seems like everything else is great. His designs of the world, I think, look fantastic. I mean, you look at the image of Snake. Wow, what am I? Sonic strapped down to a tank. I think that looks fantastic. You get honestly, one of my favorite images of Robotropolis yet. It's very stylized, where the city is like gold, and then Robotnik is like a very. It looks blue, a blue egg, just kind of like in the center of Robotropolis.
What page?
It is page 2.
Okay. Oh yes. Okay.
I think that looks fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. It looks it's like it's gold, but it looks like sickening.
Yeah.
It looks sick, not in like a cool kind of like sick. No, just like literally sick.
Well, and
like
and
ill.
What I liked about it, I looked at it, and then like the first time I had this thought was it almost looks like because of how the city is designed, it's got a lot of wires going into the egg at the bottom. And with this art direction, it kind of makes it seem like Robotnik is sucking all the life out of everything around him into his like main command center. And so everything else just looks dead. And the only thing that looks alive is his egg. And I was like, that's fantastic. I think that's great art direction.
Yeah, because it lends itself to the character.
Exactly.
And the ideology. It's fantastic. Like, hey, shout out. When it's good, we hopefully, if we're on our game, we will shout it out. And that's a great shot.
Yeah, and like I hope this guy keeps on. I hope he didn't like flub this and they're like, you can't do anymore, because I like a lot of the ideas he's going for, and I think he just needs to learn how to do whatever. Like, you can learn how to do this better. The faces, and once the faces are down, I think he would be fantastic.
And yes, we can't draw. Nick and I can't draw, but we can critique things because we want things to be better. Just so that's been said. There is an inconsistency too. Like, look at page 1, that very first page, and it's look at the bottom with Rotor, right? Mm-hmm. So Rotor looks like that. Scroll to the part 3, and it is page like 15.
Yeah, the snout.
So this is like. He looks like a Chuck E. Cheese character. He looks like Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, he super does. And it does actually make me wonder if like like this is one of the earlier ones and he drew it and got feedback, and
yeah, because
the difference between those two are huge. And I assume these aren't like done in order, right? Like,
no. Well, I don't know. But I'm in the same way that movies are never filmed in order.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that too. So we acknowledge time constraints. We acknowledge that artists are never paid or appreciated enough. We do want to say that, but at the end of the day, what we see is what we get, and we gotta talk about it
before we end our critique of this issue. Not issue, but story. I forgot to call out Sonic didn't tell Sally his plan with Uncle Chuck and everything. And I think that's insane.
Yeah, and she calls it out, but it's still dumb.
Yeah, I was just like, that's the one part, like, you can do your secret thing to everyone else, but you gotta let Sally in on these types of plans because that's insane. And maybe she would have been like, "Hey, don't tell Robotnik where the secret entrance is." To just wanted to call that out.
There is an obscene amount of, hey, I know, I got a plan, but it can only work if no one else knows about it. I feel like that's not a good idea. I feel like everyone keeps learning this lesson. Mm-hmm. If that.
Are you ready for Knuckles' like 8-page monologue?
Okay. This is the comic that I think people came to see. Because we are getting some hardcore Echidna backstory. This
is literally
here.
Just like, let's do a lore dump. So, and this is only part one.
I fucking love this shit. I fucking love it.
I both love it and hate it. I will say that.
Oh, let me also say I fucking hate it, but also I fucking love it. Okay. Here we go. Oh, also, by the way, this episode is not coming out on Monday because we are talking about so many panels. That's going to take me so long. Okay, here we go. Sonic's friendly nemesis, Knuckles. A Sense of History, Part 1. Script by Mike Ganternovich and Ken Penders. Penciled by Ken Penders.
I want to quickly point something out.
Knuckles?
I feel like we always say this is like, I mean, and it does... I mean, based on the writing styles we've seen, it does seem very Ken heavy, but pretty much every single one of these stories has been a duo with Kanternovich and Penders. So I feel like we keep on leaving Kanternovich out of it when we're like, oh yeah, this is a Penders one. And I feel like we're not doing Kanternovich justice, right? Maybe he's the reason why this is insane.
Well, we'll see if history turns out that maybe he doesn't want his name on it. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Okay, here we go. Knuckles is still looking for the Chaotix crew when he happens upon Mount Fate. This sends him into a monologue that you will now hear, which is the entire issue. Buckle up. Yeah, Dad told me the tale of that peak's fateful birthing and the way things used to be before the Great Betrayal. His stories claim that long, long ago, Echidna civilization was the most advanced on Mobius. Our city's gleaming spires rose high into the sky, though the island itself did not. We were grounders then, but our ambitions touched the stars themselves. That's how some... Sounds like a slur. Why does like half the
I
shit...
don't know, man. I like sat there for a little bit debating, do I want to work this in as like a joke or something? Because it's so weird. Yeah.
No joke. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like straight up, it's like I know it's world building, and it's actually very believable that they would have terminologies and nicknames for certain things. But man,
for an advanced
they really make it sound like slurs.
I feel like they could have come up with something better than grounders.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, where we were grounders, hard art. We were grounders back then, but our ambitions touched the stars themselves. That's how some distant relatives of mine were alerted to the danger from on high. We see two scientists looking through a telescope. Shocked. Later, in the Hall of Learning, Later, in the Hall of Learning,
well, a dire not announcement. Joke. I literally think that's what they're going for. It looks like the Hall of Justice.
In the Hall of Justice, yeah.
That's not a bit. That is.
It looks like Krypton. It looks a little bit like old school Krypton.
I was gonna save this, but he's just doing.
Sorry, we're totally interrupting.
He's doing Superman. This is just fucking Superman.
Yeah,
and I was just like, you could lift it this much. Because he's just doing everything. I'm surprised they were like, we got to keep one echidna on the ground as we lift this island up, and he will be our savior. He will absorb the asteroids like whatever radiation, and he can glide.
And these are, I'm sorry, are these, yeah. So if that means this is Krypton, later in the Hall of Learning, a dire announcement was made, one which shook society to its very core. Okay, so this is Echidna, this is Echidna Krypton, right? This is effectively like the opening of the first Superman movie.
Yeah,
like
1000%.
70s Superman movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Members of the scientific elite, according to our calculations, Anchornopolis is doomed.
If I knew you were gonna do
Within
that,
a month.
I would have put one sentence all around your room so that you can look and then say the one sentence and then look over there and say the other sentence.
Yeah.
I
So to set the scene in this Hall of Learning, it is one Echidna, a lady scientist actually, who is showing like, hey, this is what we discovered, and I'm showing the scientific elite.
Can you do Brando but with a woman voice?
No, let's just do Brando.
Yeah,
Fuck it.
I'm with you on that. For the record, for
So
my joke, I feel like people need to understand how funny I am. Is
Thank you,
Brando famously at a certain point of his life decided to stop learning lines, and so in order to act, he claimed that it felt more natural and like it would make the character seem like he's like reacting to these things and thinking in the moment, right? And so they would put like cue cards all around the room so they can go and look at that and then say the line and then, so forth and so forth. But you can see his eyes moving. So every single time there's like a close up, you can just see him reading. I watched Superman 1 recently and it just really pissed me off. Sorry.
Or in the case of The Godfather, you just had straight up like James Caan, while he's back to the camera, and Brando is just reading like a stapled like script to his shirt.
For the record, I respect it. I think Brando's rad as hell.
One of the greatest actors of the 20th century, maybe of all time.
Yeah, you're wrong because it's not Tom Cruise, but
I don't know, man. Tom Cruise, he was never based as fuck as Marlon Brando.
That's true. Tom Cruise was never based.
Citizens, members of the scientific elite, according to our calculations, Anchornopolis is doomed. Within a month, possibly only a week, this great white comet will come crashing down upon us. How was that? How was that, Brando? Was
I loved it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. The scientists all mumble in fear and ask if anything can be done. Perhaps, I have a daring plan. Unfortunately, this plan did not center around sending blue-collar, salt-of-the-earth drillers to the comet. So this is back to Knuckles. So like lemmings, the populace filed out of the city, intent not on evacuation, but excavation. Together, they scoured the countryside in search of the rarest of all commodities, Chaos Emeralds. As they worked, the threat loomed large over the head of every Echidna, both the tall and the small. Time grew short, and the emeralds, a dozen strong, were delivered, then placed within the caverns below. The Echidnas place all the Chaos Emeralds into the chamber, and the island starts floating up, just as the comet crashes into Mobius. Having severed all ties to gravity, the island would float, alone and apart, forever. It was a grand day in Echidna history. Little did we dream that our salvation would one day give birth to the Mount Fate and the greatest menace of all. End of A Sense of History, Part 1.
So we
end. Let me say this. We end. An interesting thing that we end on, second to last page, is that while the floating island is floating away in the distance, lovely shot, we see it looks like could be adult hedgehogs setting down some kind of home or like claiming the land. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's
Do you think
insane.
those could be Sonic's parents?
No, because this is implied to be like thousands of years ago.
No, maybe not thousands. Thousands? Did they say thousands?
Well, I mean, we've seen the floating island many times, and there's no buildings on it. So it's been long enough that these buildings have been like demolished, and like he's in ruins, right? And I assume the ruins that he's in are the ruins of God, the fuck did they call this place?
The crater, the big crater,
Echidnopolis.
Echidnopolis.
Yeah. So overall, I'm so pissed. I mean, I already know I said it, but they just they just did Superman, like borderline 1-to-1. Insane.
Yeah.
And on top of it, comets, if I remember correctly, are not a threat because they're mainly made of ice and gas, and asteroids are the ones you need to care about.
Yeah, I concur, but whatever. Out of everything here,
that's not
a small detail.
That's not even an issue.
I will say this is effectively Superman if they just listened to Jor-El.
No, this is Superman if they listened to an insane person who decided to lift the island instead of just building a new city like a mile away. Like
or just finding there's no way it was easier to move the whole island than it was to destroy the asteroid.
I agree.
There's no way.
Well, we don't actually know if they know space flight or not. But it was actually
that's true.
I did find it really funny. I didn't quote it, but they're trying to show how smart the scientists are. And so one of the first lines the scientist says is just like, and there we go. We've charted the entire Alpha Quadrant, which implies that they charted all of this section of space, right? And then they're like, wait a minute, a comet. And they're like, we don't know when it's coming. It could be tomorrow. It could be a month from now. And I'm just like, you were able to chart all of this like space, but you're not smart enough to figure out when an asteroid is going to come hit you? I don't know. I thought that was very funny.
That's actually like one of the basic components of like astrophysics, where it's like you can calculate that speed. You can do it. If you can do that, you can do that.
Yeah.
And that goes to, and look, I'm no astrophysicist, of course, but it goes to show it's like,
or an asteroid physicist.
It's very obvious when writers don't know what they're talking about, right? It's like you need to write what you know or be so well researched that there's no question about it. So shout out to the ones who do that research. To be fair, and then to come back to it, but to be fair, like they didn't have the internet back then, so or at least the widespread internet, so it's not as easy to glean this information. But you can still go to a library and kind of figure that out. And this is past Carl Sagan and all that stuff.
This is 96, dude.
This is the 96.
They had the internet in 96.
They had the internet, but maybe they didn't have that readily access information. So like, I don't know. I'm trying to run a defense here, but ultimately it comes down to, they didn't really know what they were talking about. They're just trying to do Superman. They're doing Superman first and then coming to it later in every other way. Shout out to I don't think they ever named the female scientist, the female echidna scientist, but she has a turban, but it looks like it's comprised of one of her dreadlocks.
Yes.
I want to shout that out because I think that kind of works.
Okay.
You don't think so?
I think it looks insane. But I think everyone looks insane, so maybe don't listen to me on that one.
The problem, the thing that makes Echidnopolis and the Echidna Society so funny to me, and I think it's the core of the issue here, not issue but problem. It's that they all just look like Knuckles knockoffs. That's the problem.
I mean, yeah.
I think that's what it is. And therefore, it's hard to just not think, oh, that's Knuckles, but a lady. Oh, that's Knuckles, but a scientist. Oh, that's Knuckles, but a child, etc., etc. Instead of coming up with a whole range of echidna types where, okay, this one's purple and looks a little different with completely different dreadlocks and looks, has a cool new design. And I understand there's like a cost effectiveness to it there. And yes, I understand that humans also kind of look all similar until maybe you get to different parts of the world where they don't look so much as similar, at least with like skin tones and shapes and sizes and all that stuff. And yes, it is a city, so I am acknowledging all of that. It's not a whole planet, but a city of people. But you still have the problem of everyone just kind of looks like Knuckles the Echidna, and that's why it's so funny. That's why I think it has this weird, I don't want to say uncanny valley, but it's just uncanniness to it, and that's a subtle implicit joke, not intended, but it's an unintended humor that underscores all of this society, and I think all of Penders's work, Penders and Konturnovich's work with this specific subset of the lore. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah.
Do you think the Echidnas are racist? Is that what's happening here? Because they have this super advanced society, and rather than move down the street, they decide to lift their whole society up into the sky. There's not one visitor in the fucking place. Like, they're all red Knuckles characters. And at first I was just like, oh, this probably happened before like other like animals and whatnot evolved to being what they are, right? But then immediately they threw a wrench in that, because the hedgehog looking characters show up as soon as the island leaves, and I don't know, is there words in the sign for you?
No, there aren't.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was just like, because I think
according to this, no, it's still blank.
That's annoying. So then what are they doing?
Well, okay, that could be like, to me, that's like the international sign
for sale.
Not international sign, but yes, it's like a for sale kind of thing. So it's like a joke.
But yeah. So these hedgehogs are wearing clothes, so that implies like intelligence and whatnot. And there are no visitors on this island. He's using a tool, yeah, and he's using a tool. And like on top of it, it seems like the moment this island like got lifted up, they show up. They're like, "Oh, we can come here now."
That's a good point. And you know what? The society is now in ruins. All right, we know it to be in ruins because that's the present. So this past, it sounds like it does turn into a Krypton situation where through their own hubris something happens and they fall prey to it. Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I hope so. I'm always a fan of that type of story of like your own hubris.
Racists getting their just due, just desserts, yeah.
Yeah, fuck racists. And like it's I am so intrigued by what direction they're going to go in, because there has to be a reason why they wouldn't leave the island, right? Because otherwise, this is just insane. All of this is absolutely insane. There has to be a specific reason why they're like, we can't leave this spot. We need to take it with us.
Could it have been a comic game thing? This is May of '96.
In what way, though?
In the sense that, the Sonic game has a floating island. Well, we need a floating island, but we can make our own lore.
Oh, I mean, that's exactly why. But you're talking about the logic of the within characters. The context of the comic.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the only reason why there's a floating island is because of Sonic 3.
Yeah, but it comes off that way, where it's like they're supremacists somehow.
Well, it's literally the only thing that makes sense to me, because otherwise, why don't they just build the city like a few miles? Like, okay, I get that you made the city and it's going to take a lot to rebuild, but like, it's not going to destroy the world. We know that.
To be fair, here's the thing.
The only way, the only way this makes sense to me is if the asteroid hits comet, whatever, and like Mobius is just completely wiped out, just completely destroyed, and
Yeah.
like it's pretty much a civilization reset, and they acknowledge that, and that's why they're like, we need to be above the clouds in order to like survive and like grow food, and that I think that I respect. I think that's cool as hell. I think that would have been a really good direction to go in, instead of whatever this was. Sorry, I interrupted you.
In that panel where they're showing the scientific community, she specifically says Echidnopolis is doomed, not Mobius or the planet is doomed. It's just the city. That could be a hubris thing where it's like, oh, the only thing that matters is Echidnopolis. So that could be it. You could still imply that, we do know that it's going to be a planet killer, so therefore we have to save ourselves. So there is that. That is kind of a stretch, or rather, they could have portrayed that more, I think. I concur. But for the most part, this is just crazy. Shout out to Bobby Schroeder, whose Tumblr, thanks Ken Penders, we follow, and the reading order, we follow that pretty much religiously for our guide through this whole journey. And this panel where she's showing the scientific community is like an out of context one of the panels she puts out of context, and it's so funny. Like, it legitimately is an insane panel, just how it is. And again, like I was saying, it's just because everyone looks like a Knuckles knockoff.
Well,
that's it.
And they all look. It's funny because to me, it's funny because of how intense everyone is. Or like you got one Knuckles being like this, and everyone else is like kind of squinting and looking at the. I think it's a very funny image because of that.
Like you have dreads, dreadlocks. At least in the Black community, is one of the most treasured like hairstyles that you can, and the reason is because you can do so much with it. Here, almost everyone has the exact same hairstyle. There is, in the center there of that image, you can see, it seems to be a feminine presenting person with a yellow shirt, and it's like, instead of locks, they have, like, it's just one long flow of hair. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's that variety, which I appreciate. I like that. But still, everyone else, it looks like everyone. Oh, okay, no, I take it back. Duh, I mentioned this earlier. It looks like she's has a turban. No, okay, no. This is good. Sorry, the more I'm looking at it now, I was thinking about that one image. Sorry. Kudos. I was incorrect. The more I look at it now, there are different hairstyles. Look below that panel. Someone has like a mohawk looking thing. Someone else has. Okay, then hey, you know what? I defeated my own point. Excellent. I do like that. It just looks like though I guess Knuckles has like the default haircut, it seems.
Yeah. He doesn't know how to stylize it because
he didn't have anyone to stylize it for him.
Have you seen the movie
He wasn't raised that way.
Have you seen the movie True Lies?
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Do you think the panel on page 7 where they're kissing or about to kiss
or like looking at each other,
while the comet strikes Mobius, do you think that's a direct reference to True Lies?
It's like the ending,
because the strike specifically looks like a nuke, and so I'm like, I think Ken Penders was just like, I want to True Lies this, which I respect. That's a good move. More movies should be like True Lies.
Yeah. There's a panel that got cut out where it's like, Take off your shirt and do a dance. I just wanted to do a joke turning off the light, sorry.
True Lies is great. More people need to watch True Lies. One of Cameron's...
That scene is great. Dude, Jamie Lee Curtis can get it.
Yeah. Agreed. So I've shat on Ken Penders' art. So I'm going to call out which is arguably one of my favorite images that this comic has produced so far. So thank you, Ken. It's insane because it's when the floating island starts floating. It seems like it was just like on a village of ants. And the image of the ants looking up and like scared is like just really funny to me.
So I that actually does stick out to me. Like, it's not a throwaway. To me, it's actually a really cool emotional beat. Now, when you say a village of ants, you're not implying that it's an actual like large, like these are anthropomorphic ants. No. These are literal small ants.
I think these ants are huge. Look how big they are when they are at the edge of the crater.
No, I think that's.
You think this is like zoomed
well
in like 1,000 times? Because I thought those are like 6 foot tall ants.
No, okay. I see why you say that, because the facial expression on the ants lends itself to them being highly sentient and full sized. So that's not good if the intent was to be literal tiny ants, because they look like sentient.
Yeah. Which then, if they are sentient, how messed up is it that they just built it right on top of them, huh?
Well, you could argue because they're ants, that's how they live.
Wow. You sound just like an echidna right now.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. No, I like it though, because it is like a cool emotional beat.
Yeah, I legitimately do like the idea of it. It's just how it was drawn.
There's no perspective, so I was confused a little bit there.
Yeah. Yeah, you know.
No, I mean, honestly, like Ken's art was actually pretty solid on this one, I think. Maybe there's some perspective things, but you know.
Let me.
I've seen much worse.
Yeah, it was fine on this one. I don't have any real call-outs. And that's the issue. Only 381 left to go. I'm Nick. I stream at twitch.tv/mojosource, and my personal blue sky is at mojosource.
And I am Dominic. You can follow my jazz adventures and people power adventures in Chicago. Just pieced together an Instagram reel, which was me filming basically how the police kettled a march, and kind of a breakdown on how they did it with using bicycles. Fun fact, Chicago Police Department, they use bicycles to great effect for police violence, and in order to get ahead of protesters, they use it as improvised barricades, they use it as a weapon, they use it to go faster than the actual protesters, to do quick block-offs, create flashpoints. Very interesting stuff. You can also find me on Blue Sky at Domguan.
You can follow us on socials like Gotta Talk Fast. TikTok is Gotta Talk Faster. We also have a video version of the podcast where you can follow along with the panels and watch our handsome faces. You can write in the show at Sonicgrams, at gottatalkfast.com. Ask us questions, provide corrections, and give us your opinion of this week's issue. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and remember, when life keeps going fast, you gotta talk fast and just get through it.
My son. This is a small price to pay, but I do love you. I do love you, my son.
Brilliant.
It's in the back of the throat. It's in the back of the throat, and it's high pitched, and it's so good.
You know what else is in the back of the throat? Those combos.
Gotta talk.
Gotta Talk Fast was written by Nick Folkerts and edited by Dominic Guanzon. Intro and outro themes recorded by Dominic Guanzon. Gotta Go Fast originally composed by Norman J. Grossfeld, Joseph Garrity, and Russell Velasquez.
Gotta talk. Fast. 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 Gotta talk.